If you think your eye color is just a party trick for guessing ancestry, think again. The iris might be the most misunderstood patch of pigment on your entire body. Every time you look in the mirror, you're staring at a clue to your hidden vulnerabilities and a few talents you probably never asked for. Here's the twist. What your eye color actually reveals is almost the opposite of what you've heard. We've been sold the idea that blue eyes mean you're mysterious, or that brown eyes make you trustworthy.
But the real science isn't about personality. It's about genes, disease, and the strange quirks of evolution.
So, does your eye color secretly predict your health? Or is it just a pretty accident of biology? Let's pull back the lens and start with a question almost nobody asks. Why do humans even have visible eye color at all? Picture a wild animal, a wolf, a chimp, even a house cat. Their irises are basically camouflage. Same color, same shade, no drama. Humans? We're the weird ones. We flaunt everything from deep brown to icy blue to rare green, even one in a million combos like gray or hazel. So what's the evolutionary point of having eyes everyone can read from across the room? The answer: human eye color is less about survival and more about social signaling. Your iris is a billboard for your family tree, your risk factors, and sometimes your hidden superpowers. But here's where almost everyone gets it wrong. Eye color isn't a simple genetic yes or no. It's a genetic cocktail. Over 16 different genes are involved. The classic high school myth: brown is dominant, blue is recessive. But if you've ever met a blue-eyed kid with two brown-eyed parents, you already know that's not the full story. The reality: eye color is a tangled web of genes with names like OCA2 and HERC2, plus a dozen more you'll never see on a high school quiz. What these genes control isn't just color. They set off a chain reaction that shapes everything from melanin in your skin to how your eyes handle light. Now, here's the first real consequence. The less melanin in your iris, the lighter your eye color, and the more sensitive you are to sunlight.
If you've got blue or green eyes, you're more likely to reach for sunglasses before your brown-eyed friends even notice a glare.
That's not just an annoyance, it's a vulnerability. People with light-colored eyes are at a higher risk for certain eye diseases, including macular degeneration and uveal melanoma. On average, brown eyes offer extra built-in sunblock. But flip the script. Darker eyes may come with a slightly higher risk of cataracts later in life. And that brings us to the big twist. No eye color is strictly better. Every shade has its own trade-offs. What about the rarest shades? Green eyes, for example, show up in less than 2% of the global population. They're usually found in people of European descent, especially in Celtic regions. But that rarity doesn't mean special powers or special problems. It's just a genetic lottery ticket that won, briefly, in the right climate and culture. Now, let's talk about blue eyes, the so-called northern mystery. Genetic sleuthing points to a single ancestor who lived roughly 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. Before that, everyone on Earth had brown eyes, full stop. One mutation, one big genetic roll of the dice, and suddenly blue eyes started spreading, especially in places with weak sunlight. Here's the kicker: blue eyes don't actually have blue pigment. It's an optical illusion, the same trick that makes the sky look blue. Tiny particles in the iris scatter light, bouncing back only the shorter blue wavelengths to your eyes.
So, your blue eyes are really just brown eyes with less melanin
and a clever physics hack. Now, let's address a favorite myth: that blue-eyed people are more likely to have certain personalities. Sorry, science says no. There's no reliable evidence linking eye color to temperament or intelligence. But there are some strange, real connections, just not the ones you think. For example, blue-eyed people, on average, have a slightly higher pain tolerance. The reason? Probably a side effect of the same genes that control melanin. Researchers have found that women with lighter eyes experience less pain during childbirth, though no one really knows why. Flip side, lighter eyes are more sensitive to alcohol, drugs, and even caffeine. That's not all. Eye color can hint at hidden health risks that have nothing to do with vision. For example, people with lighter eyes are at a slightly higher risk for certain skin cancers. More melanin means more protection, not just for your eyes, but for your whole body. But brown-eyed people have their own quirks. Recent studies suggest they may react differently to certain medications, including anxiety drugs. And in a weird twist, people with darker eyes often have faster reaction times in sports. Why? It might be the way melanin affects light scatter in the eye, sharpening motion detection. So if you're picking teammates for dodgeball, maybe take a peek at their eyes. What about people with two different colored eyes, heterochromia? Despite the Hollywood hype, most cases are just a quirk of development, not a sign of superpowers or hidden danger. Sometimes it's genetic, sometimes it's caused by injury or disease. But unless you see sudden changes as an adult, it's rarely a reason to worry. Let's zoom out again. If eye color isn't a personality decoder, why do we care so much? Blame it on evolution, status, and a dash of human vanity. Throughout history, rare eye colors have been linked to beauty, magic, or danger. In ancient Rome, glaucous eyes, think gray or blue, were seen as exotic, even supernatural. In some cultures, brown eyes are prized for their warmth and supposed honesty. But these meanings are all inventions, stories layered over basic biology. So if you're hoping your eyes reveal your destiny, you might be disappointed. What they really reveal is a snapshot of ancient migrations and random mutations, and sometimes a tiny peek at your body's strengths and its weak spots. Here's another twist. Your eye color can change slightly over your lifetime. Babies often start with blue or gray eyes, only to darken as melanin builds up in the first few years. And in rare cases, illness or injury can trigger changes later in life. But if your eyes suddenly change color as an adult, it's worth seeing a doctor. Now, let's bust the final myth that two people with blue eyes can only have blue-eyed kids. Rare, but possible, thanks to recessive genes lurking in the family tree. And if you've got hazel eyes, welcome to the club of genetic wildcards. Hazel is really a mosaic, flecks of brown, green, and gold shifting with the light. No two hazel eyes are exactly alike. But here's what unites all eyes: the ability to adapt, sometimes in ways we're only just beginning to understand. For example, in high-altitude regions with blinding sun, brown eyes dominate. In cloudy northern climates, lighter eyes became common, possibly to let in more light during long, dark winters. So your eye color is a living fossil, evidence of what your ancestors survived. But what about the future? Could eye color one day be changed by choice, not nature? It's already happening. Cosmetic surgery and gene editing are starting to rewrite the rules. But there's a catch. We barely understand the side effects. Altering melanin in the iris can raise your risk of blindness, infection, or worse. So for now, your eye color is still mostly a genetic hand-me-down, with its quirks, perks, and vulnerabilities. But it's also a living reminder that biology rarely fits into simple categories. So next time someone claims your eyes say something about you, you'll know what they really reveal is a story much bigger than you. A story of ancient journeys, genetic gambles, and the power of adaptation, written in a ring of color, just a few millimeters wide. That's why eye color is fascinating, not for the stereotypes, but for the secrets it keeps about where we come from and what we face. So, what's your eye color really saying about you? Less than you think, and more than you ever realized. But what about the ways your eyes change with your mood, your health, or even your diet? That's a whole different rabbit hole, and the science might surprise you.